When I see godly leaders, what I see is a bright light. And I want to say that to each leader. Each leader, when you lead well and you honor God, you become a bright light to the people around you. You become an example, a pillar in society of strength and godliness. And what it is to be a bright light, it's not pretending to be perfect. That's absolutely not what it is to live a godly life, because we're not perfect. And we don't need to pretend we're perfect. But just be honest. Just be honest and strive to live for God. When you make mistakes, own up and put them right. Amen, church? Just be honest and seek to do what's right. Desire to please God. So as we look at the standards set for deacons, let them be a standard that we set for ourselves, something that we should pursue as the people of God. So a deacon is to be virtuous in his conduct. Some translation says dignified. More simply put, worthy of respect. It says not double-tongued. This is an interesting one. The Greek meaning for double-tongued, it speaks of someone who is known for telling a different story. Does that make sense? They tell a different story. They tell you a story, they tell somebody else a story, and by the end of it, even they're confused. Everybody else around them is confused. Don't be double-tongued, it says. It speaks of somebody who's somewhat deceitful in their testimony. Deacons and Christians, let our stories, our words be honest and pure and measured. That's the simple application of that. Not addicted to much wine. Quite simply put, for me, this is speaking of free of all addictions. There's many of us struggle with various things, but a leader is to be free of addictions. And that's for sure. There is believers who have and do struggle with things, and there's no doubt about that. But this is a setting up and a setting apart. Not addicted to much wine. And it says not greedy for money. The lesson's in the words written before you. Not greedy for this honest gain. You get presented with an opportunity to make money and you know it's deceitful. No, it's certainly not of God, and it's there as a snare to trip you up. Then in verse 9 it says, they must hold the mystery of the faith with a clear conscience. Simply this, have a clear conscience. Be true to the Lord and his teachings. And the world, you see, will try to distort his teachings on your life and your mind. But you as leaders must hold firm to the mystery of the faith and stand firm in his word. And when you're challenged according to his word, you will have a clear conscience, because your thinking will be in line with his. Stand firm to his word at all costs. Walk in godliness with a clear conscience. Keep short accounts with yourself between you and the Lord. Oversee as a head of the home. As the man, we're the priest of the home. We're to manage our home well. That means to be involved. And you know, man, that can be a challenge. But that's why we're told to do it. It's to be a good manager, we need to be involved. I couldn't be a good pastor and be absent. You see, and we need to be involved to be part of our children's life. It's no good, Paul says, looking after the church if you neglect your very own family. These are some of the things that it brings out, and I hope it's hard-hitting for you this morning, because it is for me as well, and we need to be careful that we're not so caught up on doing everything else that we neglect the very things that God has given us. Teach your children to love the Lord and to treasure his salvation. They will learn this best when they see it in your life. Many kids today know very little about the salvation of God and very little about the judgment of God. For some, it's a bit of a joke. Many come to church with very little desire to really know Jesus, let alone follow him, and it's our responsibility to make sure that's not the case. Because there's one thing that keeps me on the level path, and it's the fear of God. And the fear of God, if you have it, will keep you in the will of God. And if your children know the fear of God, that'll direct them in their lives. Now listen to what Psalm 36:1 says. The psalmist says, an oracle is in my heart regarding the transgression of the wicked man. And it says there's no fear of God in his eyes. This is a man that lived whatever way he wanted. He had no fear of God in his eyes. And that's what we need to be careful. The fear of God will guide us and will guide our children. So if we have a fear of God, we'll lead by example.